Welcome in Out of Bounds here on 103.7 The Buzz. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. It is a Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds. And we're going to have plenty of fun today because we're going to have you on with the conversations of what we're going to be doing and talking about. And it's really easy to do to get involved in that conversation. Call or text in to 501-661-1037. Get after us in the Asher Record Live fan feedback. After me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNabors. And today we were going to have Bobby Werniss on, but it's kind of previewed that in the zone. But unfortunately, Bobby just texted me and said there's some stuff he's having to do with the transfer portal. And I'm like, okay, buddy, you go do your job, but you can't be grandstanding on us now. We'll just have to wait till tomorrow. But no, I'm hoping it's some good news that they have going on, but he's going to join us instead tomorrow. But that's okay because we're still going to have Dudley Dawson on of hogville.net. He'll join us, and I'm sure we'll talk to him about some Arkansas stuff, but he's a jack of all trades when it comes to his sports teams and sports altogether. So we'll have some fun with him in the 2 o'clock hour, and then in the 3 o'clock hour, we'll have some Michael Bratton action as we get ready for SEC Media Day. Some things happening in college football. Greg Sankey getting an extension and some hot seat rankings for coaches that he had put out, or at least had talked about. So we'll have that too. And we'll try to get into some headlines as well and get into some funny stories to go along with it too. And a Big 12 Media Days going on with college football, and there's been some stories out of that as well. But I don't know. I was pretty disappointed today because I once again forgot that Rock and Roll Sushi brought food in. And I brought my own food in.
It's a staple on Thursdays.
I'm telling you,
zone.
I was so disappointed because like what I made was nowhere near as good as what Rock and Roll Sushi is. And so I was already full. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to stuff myself just extra and not have dinner to get Rock and Roll Sushi. But as soon as I walked in, I saw that food. I'm like, dadgummit. I'm all right. Well, I guess I'll just have to sit here in my misery for the rest of the day and just try to figure out ways to eat during commercial breaks because it looked pretty amazing. And I know it smelled amazing. I know it was amazing. So, but yeah, I always love Thursdays, except well, at least when I remember that it's Thursday and that they have Rock and Roll Sushi in here. Did you get you some of it already?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
And everything they bring is good. And they mix it up every week, bring something different. They were even talking about, because of French fries, Zone had a question the other day about French fries, that Rock and Roll Sushi actually has French fries on their kids' menu.
Interesting.
So they're going to bring some of those next week.
Yeah. See, that's a thing that where it's a smart move because not all kids love Asian food or sushi or anything like that.
Kids
but
don't love much of anything.
Well, I guess that's true.
You definitely, on the kids' menu, you have to have chicken tenders, burger, and fries.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It has to be
and
the
maybe
go-to.
macaroni.
Well, see, what's funny is that when I was growing up, my dad hated any sort of Asian food. Hated it. And he hates chicken. But I don't know why. But he did not like Asian food. He did not like chicken. So as a kid, I never got to experience what it was like to have lo mein or fried rice or anything like that.
Or any kind of chicken?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was except for maybe fried chicken. That'd be the only thing he could tolerate, of course, because fried anything, But yeah, no any other type of dish that had chicken in it. If he was gone, we'd have chicken and dumplings. If it was like that was the special occasion because Dad's not here. Even though with the business that he was in Northwest Arkansas, chicken was one of his biggest reasons why he kept food on the table because of the Tyson and the Cobb Vantress and all
but
that.
But that happens sometimes. If you're involved in the business around certain foods, you don't necessarily eat that food.
That's a good point. Maybe he saw what was going on to the chickens. He was like, you know what?
There's been a lot of that also.
maybe we'll not do the chickens. We'll just stick with because the stuff that doesn't happen to cows. So we'll just stick that with the red meat and go along with that. But
yeah, you get behind the curtain and see how things are done. It makes you want to stay away.
Yeah, which I can totally understand that. I was I never worked in fast food when I was in high school. I know I had some friends that did, and to this day, some of those friends that worked at those particular places say that they will never go. Like they just can't do it, won't go. Not necessarily just because of like the awfulness or anything, but just when you're around it all the time.
Yeah.
You're around it, you smell it, and sometimes you even eat it because it's there.
Like it.
Yeah, smell like it. Yeah, reek of it for the rest of the day. Can't get out of your clothes. I'm sure that's the case because there's some fast food restaurants in specific that do have like distinct smells in it. Like, if you go to a sandwich shop, it's got the bread smell, or if you go to, I guess it was a Burger King that kind of has that charboil smell to it.
Yeah.
It's like, I couldn't imagine, like the smell is great and all, but I don't know if I want to smell like that for the rest of the day. That wouldn't be me. I don't want that. Or barbecue places too. You always smell like the barbecue. That one I could probably deal with. Go to Corky's.
You can smell that from miles away.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I could deal with that. So, but yeah, we got a lot to get to, folks, because today again we're going to talk some college football and some of the stuff going on there with the hot seat, and also get into some of the headlines as well. And the ESPYs last night. Did you watch the ESPYs?
Didn't watch a second of the ESPYs.
Me either.
And it wasn't by design. It was just caught up doing other things, and then I did watch USA Panama and soccer, and I DVR'd the ESPYs, but still just caught up in some stuff, and it was late, and I was like, yeah, I'm not going to go back and watch it now because it's late.
Yeah, it's almost like a highlight thing that if on social media, if you find out somebody did something or had some sort of speech or some sort of funny moment, you could probably follow it along on social media. But because last night I had a late meeting, and after the meeting, then we just kind of went out and hung out and got to go to a place where there's TVs on, and it was kind of crazy because where they were at, they had the soccer game on, and they had I guess whatever was on the SEC network. I don't even remember what was on. It was some replay of some game, I think, but they didn't have the ESPYs on. And I was kind of like, that's kind of odd. But then I started thinking about it too. I'm like, you can watch sports without audio, but you can't really watch the ESPYs really without audio. It's like you just see somebody up there and you have no idea what they're talking about. So that made sense. But that I was, at least if it was up there, if it was playing, I may have watched it, but it just all I know is that it's got to see, I guess DeMar Hamlin was there, and that was a moment that I know a lot of people were talking about. LeBron saying he's coming back next year, which I didn't know that was in doubt, but he said something to the extent
as a host or what?
Oh no, just like to play basketball again next year.
Oh yeah. He mentioned at the end of the season after their last game that he was uncertain about what he was going to do the upcoming season, and when he said that, somebody automatically asked him the question, are you thinking about retiring? Is that what you're saying? He's like, I mean, it's not out of the question. I don't know at this point. He's like, it's just future's up in the air. Okay. And so that started a cycle of LeBron has mentioned possible retirement, and this is the first we've heard from him. So this is something we need to run with.
Okay. I see. I knew that there was probably something I didn't remember or that I wasn't paying attention to that led to him saying that, because I don't think that it would just be out of the blue. But like, oh, yeah, for all those people asking, I'm coming back next year. So there had to be something that stemmed from it. Now that makes sense of that's what he was referring to as far as the uncertainty of what was going to be.
It was after the Lakers got swept by the Nuggets, and when they had their exit meetings, maybe the next day or a couple of days later, Darvin Ham, it had to be the next day because Darvin Ham said, yeah, after last night's game, I might have wanted to retire too.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think he would retire. I just thought it was really interesting because, anytime LeBron's up there and he says something, it's always going to get people talking about things. But that was one of the deals. And there's some other highlight or something I saw people were talking about.
The Arthur Ashe Award, maybe, to the women's national team.
Maybe that's what it was. Yeah, because the Courage Award is always a big deal. Like it's always, no matter who it's given to, whether people agree or not, is always a very talked about award. So that's probably what it was too. Angel Reese, I guess, was talking about bringing LSU another national championship or something like that.
Absolutely. That's what they're supposed to say.
Well, that's what I laughed about because everyone's like, oh, man. I was like, well, what?
So did LSU win for best team? Is that where that came from?
I think it must have been an individual award for her because she was the only one on stage.
Breakthrough athlete.
Okay. So I knew it was something that was just for her. But, yeah, she went out there and talked about bringing another one back. And everyone's like, oh, she called her shot. I was like, oh, yeah. I mean, who wouldn't go up there and any athletes in any sport?
Okay, so here's a lot of no-brainers, though. Male athlete, Patrick Mahomes.
Ooh.
NBA player, Nikola Jokic.
Ooh.
Male college athlete, Caleb Williams. And then, of course, Angel Reese, breakthrough athlete. Let's see, LeBron James, record-breaking performance because of breaking the NBA's all-time scoring record.
That's fair.
MLB player, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, so really going on a limb.
Yeah, it's like everything that was expected there, but it is based on voting. So that's why you see Nikola Jokic win, because that's the lasting memory in most people's minds as far as NBA player. And Lionel Messi, championship performance, finally getting Argentina a World Cup win, and they had never won anything in international play.
Yeah. I mean, because I was thinking about, okay, well, if you're gonna take these awards and if you're just gonna give it to kind of who deserved it or whatever, like that's fine. But then again, if you had the best NFL player or whatever, or male athlete of the year, or however you want to put it, and you went with somebody just for the sake of going with somebody else, like if instead Patrick Mahomes, you went with someone else in the NFL, like that wouldn't make sense. Like you're talking about the guy who was the MVP. So I get it. Like it may be very predictable on who's going to win some of those awards, but I mean, if it's the award to the best ones, those were the best ones, regardless of the MVP or not getting the MVP.
Best team, Chiefs. Let's see, best comeback athlete, Jamal Murray, who played for the Nuggets. And
Yeah.
we know that their championship run had a lot to do with him being involved in past couple of off seasons. He was out due to injury.
Yeah. Okay. That one's a good one. I forgot about that one. I didn't think about it, but that one's a good one. That one
Best
makes
UFC
sense.
fighter, John Jones. He spent 2 years outside of MMA, and then he came back and won a championship right away, moved up in weight and won a championship. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Best played, Justin Jefferson with the one-handed catch against the Bills.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That was the best play though of all sports or
Yeah, yeah.
okay. I mean, it was a great play.
They call it the catch of the century.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. If it's the catch of the century, you better dadgum win an ESPYs. You better win that for the best play because that would be problematic.
Best tennis player. Any guesses on that? Novak Djokovic.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I was going to say Djokovic, but I was maybe going to just mix it up and be unpredictable, but no, it's Djokovic.
Now, best golfer, that may be a bit of a spin.
And men, just all together, like men or women's, or just total?
It just says best golfer, but it's a man.
Oh. It's not Rahm, is it?
Scotty Scheffler.
Scotty Scheffler, okay.
So that could have
Fair.
been a bit of
Yeah.
a spin because
Yeah.
there were several golfers that had really good years.
Yeah. I'm still mad that they didn't give Joe Adams the play of the year when that punt return happened. Instead, they gave it to Indiana hitting a buzzer beater against Kentucky. Ooh, no one's seen a buzzer beater before. But have you ever seen a punt return like that? Yeah, not that I'm still bitter and still think about it. But either
Kyrie
way,
and Angel Reese were on stage together.
now that's a combo right there. That's a duo. We got more Out of Bounds on a Trash Talk Thursday coming up next. Stay with us. It's out of bounds here on a Trash Talk Thursday. If you want in on the conversation, phone lines are open at 501-661-1037. As we'll have a little change. Actually, Michael Bratton's having to join us at 2:30 today. So we're moving everybody all over the place. So he's going to join us at 2:30, talk about college football with him, and Dudley Dawson will be in the 3 o'clock hour. And look forward to catching up with both of them. Talk about each and everything going on. And with it being a Trash Talk Thursday, too, with our little enemy of the state polling, want to give an update on that because yesterday we talked about the Dirty 32 and those that were involved into the first round of games, and none of them were really big surprises, which is kind of disappointing. I was hoping there would be a few that maybe would surprise some people as far as who won. There really wasn't any of that. So, but that's okay because we're moving on to the Sucky 16. And with that, the matchups are as follows. You have the SEC officiating versus Tony Vitello, because Tony Vitello beat out Brett Bielema pretty handedly. I was a little surprised by that. But SEC officiating, taking care of business right now. 90% of the voting for SEC officiating over Tony Vitello. The next one's pretty close, though. It's the Battle Line Rivalry Trophy versus John L. Smith. John L. Smith has a slim lead of 1%, 51% to 49% over the Battle Line Trophy.
Yeah, wonder why Battle Line Trophy is even on there.
That's what people nominated.
Yeah, but it's because Arkansas isn't winning the trophy.
Oh, yeah. Well, they
at a high rate.
Yeah, there's a lot of trophies that haven't been winning at a high rate, but that was the one that they selected, I guess, hated the most. But the next one is also a absolute punishing. We should call, when do they do in elections where it's like 1% is in, but you're calling it for somebody? It's like some of these you could do that for, because Texas is beating Houston 93% to 7. So that one should be called.
It's done.
Yeah, that one's over with. Eli Drinkwitz is beating the front-facing hog logo 62% to 38%. So Drink is in the lead there. Jeff Long is beating Nate Oates 66% to 34%. So Jeff Long's taking care of business in that one. The Heisman voters. This was another close one. Heisman voters, of course, really stemming back to the Darren McFadden days. Heisman voters are beating out 11 a.m. kickoffs by 53% to 47%. Chad Morris is smoking LSU. That was a tough, some that maybe thought LSU should have been a higher seed, but it's not the way the nominations work. But Chad Morris is winning that one 90% to 10, so we could probably call that one. Chad Morris is going to win this whole thing. I think that's pretty apparent. Jimmy Dykes did beat out Jimmy Sexton in the Battle of the Jimmies.
Oh, yeah. No surprise there.
But you do have Instant Replay, who Jimmy Dykes is going up against, with a pretty solid lead of 56% to 44%. So there's your Sucky 16 teams and the voting so far. And then tomorrow we'll go to the Hateful Eight, and we'll get to the bottom of hopefully knowing who the Final Four and then the championship game. But I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be SEC officiating versus Chad Morris, because those were the two that got voted the most. And I think Chad Morris will end up winning, but who knows? Maybe there's an upset in the making. Maybe there's one brewing out there. But those are the latest ones, and haven't really been any surprises, other than the only one I would have said maybe, just maybe you could have said was a surprise, was the fact that Tony Vitello beat Brett Bielema as handedly as he did. But again, it goes back to the whole recency bias of what people probably think. Oh, they remember Vitello and Dave Van Horn getting into it, but
they're actually friends and they talk quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they do. And it's been said many times that they're still friends, and I still hold the belief that Tony V is going to be the next head coach of Arkansas after Dave Van Horn retires. That's just my theory. So if that happened, that'd be pretty awkward if Tony Vitello ended up winning the. Hey, it's like, yeah, you guys hate him so much, but now he's your coach. Now you're going to have to change your ways a little bit. But Mark on our text line says there's no logical way that John L. Smith does not win, and no way that Chad Morris does not come in second. So Mark's saying that John L. would be the one that should win the entire bracket, then Chad Morris. I don't know about that.
We're talking about one bad year versus 2 terrible years.
Yes, quite a difference, quite a huge difference there. I get it. I understand that everyone's got their person or everyone's got their thing that they hate the most, but I just don't see that actually turning out and becoming that way. So we'll keep you updated though on that. And you haven't voted on it, go to 1037 The Buzz on our Twitter, and Facebook's on there, but do Twitter. all of them are going to show up for you really easily, and you just click the ones you voted. So just do that on Twitter. It's the easiest way, assuming that you have a Twitter account. It's the best way to do it. Also, in some other news, this is something I was going to bring up with Michael Bratton, and I know that it's always fascinating to see coaches' hot seats at around this time of year, because right before SEC Media Days, you get an idea of who's what. And I think it was actually Dennis Dodd who puts together one of the original, but also a really good job of doing the hot seat rankings for coaches
Is
in
this
college football.
SEC? Oh, it's a college football as a whole.
College football as a whole, yeah, all 133 coaches.
Oh God.
So yeah, he went through a lot of them. Which
Kirby Smart, number 133.
Yeah, seriously, he's probably good to go for the rest of the decade, I would think. But how he did it is he had a rating system of 5 being you have to win this year or you're fired, and then 0 being untouchable. And what's funny is all 133 coaches, he only had 3 coaches that were listed as win or be fired coaches, like where you got to do it. Like right now, no questions asked, can't even think about anything else. Those are the ones that have to do it. And I was surprised also to see that how he did it and how he ranked them, because there was like the coaches, like for instance, Tom Allen at Indiana, he ranked at 5. I was like, okay, I mean, I guess. I know that it's Indiana, and I know that
they have expectations there too now.
I guess, but he was not one of the ones that would have popped into my mind of a win or go home. The other one was Danny Gonzalez at New Mexico, because he's 7-24 in 3 seasons. So I'm sure
there's been plenty of time
part of that, yeah, to where you can't have that type of record and be that low on the system. And then the third coach, because again, I kept waiting to see if there was like a big coach. The only one that's in a Power 5 conference is Neil Brown at West Virginia, because he's at a 5 rating, and been there for 4 years, and he's 22-25. So that was really the only ones that were like staunch win or go home type of deals. But Sam Pittman, for instance, he's at a 3, right in the middle. And for those that want to know the description of what 3 means pressure is mounting. And so I don't know how many people, like maybe a lot of people would agree with that. Maybe some wouldn't agree with that. But I think that's pretty fair, though.
It is
to have it at the 3 where he's not on the hot seat. It's not like, hey, you're about to get fired or anything, but it's like the time is coming for you to start making those steps and keep it moving in the right direction. And this is a big year for you. So I think 3 is fair for Sam Pittman.
Yeah, it's something that there's expectation of building upon winning. And we saw a couple of seasons ago, Arkansas had a really good season. And then last year was a bit of a drop off from the previous season. And now you're expecting that you're going to come back at least better than last season and continue to build.
Yeah. I think that with coaches in hot seats, like the idea of you get 4 years and no matter what to build your program because of the portal and everything, I think that's over. Some places you may get that, but a general rule, if you're not going in the right direction in 2 or 3 years, they could be making a change, because how much money is invested, how much money is being earned, and knowing that season ticket sales are huge and the conference realignments, those are huge. So it seems like the pressure can get turned up a notch pretty quickly on you if you don't get it turned around.
That's why coaches are willing to sign those big high dollar contracts, because they realize if they don't win at a high level and they do have a quick exit, at least there's compensation for it.
Yeah, it's the old Ed Orgeron thing. Just tell me which what day you want me out of here and what door you want me out of here from.
Like, and that's not to say that they don't go into it thinking that they can win and they want to win. They have a desire. They put in the work to win, but sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, because let's be honest, coaches are also a lot like players when it can be compared to it, where coaches, they get a nice payout, sure. Could some of them see that and going into certain circumstances say, I'm not saying mail it in, but just kind of say, it doesn't look like it's going to work out, but I know it's going to have some money at the end. I think some coaches may do that. But overall, these are coaches. And what do? They coach. Like, they're competitors. They don't want to be an embarrassment. They don't want to go 2-10 and have it to where you're basically ostracized from the profession and mocked and made fun of. Like, no coach wants that.
And they like stability.
Yeah.
It's not like they want to keep bouncing around. You go to a job, you sign a big contract, you get fired. Now you go somewhere else, you sign another big contract. They don't like that. They like stability. They like being in a place, building, and they like winning.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you win, it's, you get more money for one. And, you continue to get paid. You continue to get that stability. but it's a pride thing. It's a competitive thing. Like a lot of these coaches played sports, grew up playing sports, grew up playing football, and they were competitive. And that's what drove them to get into the coaching profession in a lot of cases. Cause it's like, I love this sport so much. I love winning so much. I know what it feels like and that great feeling of winning. And I may not be able to play because of my physical older age or whatever it is. So, but I still want to have that feeling. So they want to win. That's what they want to do. And so that's why I always laugh about if people bring up coaches and, oh, well, they're going to get paid this. Yeah, they are for sure. And that's nice. And it's a great, what joke is the best job in the world is being a hired college football or fired college football coach. No doubt. But all these coaches want to win. And they didn't, because you think about some of these journeys that some of these coaches were went on where it wasn't like they weren't coaching 2 years ago and now they're head coach of a college football program. It's like, no, they wanted to move up and put in the work and put in the hours to get to that point. And just sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. It's just the way it is.
Well, sometimes schools get what they consider to be a quality coach if they are let go at another job and they want to present another opportunity for them. And that may be the best candidate for that school. And, just it may be a high caliber coach that they wouldn't have had that opportunity to get on the way up, but on the way down becomes a different story.
Oh yeah, it can change everything too. Because even Butch Jones, who I know here's at Arkansas State in Jonesboro, according to CBS Sports and Dennis Dodd, he's at a 4 rating right now as the pressure's mounting because he's gone 5-19 in 2 years, and expectations start to build and people start to say, hey, you got to get it going, you got to start moving forward, you got to give us some sort of change here if you're wanting to stick around. And what's kind of cool too is some of these coaches that were rated last year, it also has those ratings listed. And actually, hold on a second. I completely botched this. Hold on a second. I just screwed up. That's my bad.
This is last year?
No.
Oh,
I
okay.
looked. Okay, so what I did for Sam Pittman, and I'm sorry, Coach Pittman, if you're listening. So I was looking at the years that Sam Pittman was here, not his rating. Everybody else I got right, but it's just Sam Pittman. He's not at 3. He's been here for 3 years. He's actually at a 1, which a 1 is safe and secure. So
interesting.
I thought that that's been released. I'm a little surprised by that. That's pretty low, all things considered. So that's great for him, but I would have guessed it would have been a little bit higher, at least a 2, which is all good for now as it's put. But as a 1 and safe and secure, I was a little surprised to see that. So that's my bad. I read the wrong thing. The years 3 would have made a lot more sense, but no, he's just at a 1 right now. Because also Auburn's coach Hugh Freeze, he's at a 1. He's brand new. Nothing's going to change there for him. As far as SEC teams go, Billy Napier's at a 2. He's moved up from a 1. And so that's not surprising considering last season. Georgia's at a 0, as you mentioned.
Should be.
He should be at -2, honestly, for what the job he's done. Kentucky with Mark Stoops is at a 2. So it was a 1 last year, but now it's moved up to a 2.
Say what?
Yeah. I was a little surprised by that, too. I think Mark Stoops has done a great job at Kentucky in the way that he's been moving up. Missouri with Eli Drinkwitz is at a 3. It's moved up from 2 to 3, which is funny. That dude just got a new contract extension. So how about that? It's the way that he's been moving up. And then if you continue to move down the list for some of the other teams, like Lane Kiffin's at a 2. He's moved up from 1 to 2. So his seat is getting a little bit warmer. Also, we're talking about Tennessee. Josh Heupel's at a 1. Texas A&M Jimbo's at a 4. He was at a 0 last year, and this is according to Dennis Dodd again. The biggest jump any coach has made has been Jimbo Fisher going from a 0 to a 4 this year, which is not surprising at all.
How does Tom Herman get to be a 1 and he just took the job? His record is 0-0. This will be his first season at FAU, but he's at a 1.
I guess it's like the only way you get a 0 is if you've had so much high level success that you're untouchable, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, first season.
Yeah, that's a little much.
Coach Prime is at a 0.
That is weird. I don't know. Again, maybe we got to get Dennis Dodd on the show and go through it all and try to figure out how some of this worked out. Because there's a few first year coaches like Hugh Freeze being at a 1.
Georgia Tech's coach is at a 2 and it's his first season.
Welcome in. You're already you're okay for now, but the pressure's building on you too. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Some of these numbers, and maybe it's just because of the circumstances they're in. Maybe it's because of the.
Oh, they have a couple other first year coaches at a 2.
Jeez, they got so not that it matters at Kent State, but Arkansas plays Kent State this year in football. Their coach, Kenny Burns, is at a 3. It's his first year. He's already middle of the pack. Man,
That's crazy.
no holds barred for these new coaches. Jeez, you're already putting them behind the 8 ball. Zach Arnett is at a 2, and he's a Mississippi State coach that had to take over after Mike Leach, but maybe that's why he's at a higher level because of who he's taking over for, and the circumstances. So
because they do kind of view that as it needs to stay steady and where it is, and if not, that could be a quick turnaround within a couple of years or so.
Well, it's also funny he already crossed out Pat Fitzgerald on Northwestern because he's already been fired.
Well, I mean, you got to bring it up to date.
Yeah, he was at a 0 last year, and he was at a 4 this year, and then crossed him out. Now he's at a 6.
He was at a 4.
Yeah, he was at a 4, and
that's crazy in itself.
He moved pretty quickly there. So yeah, well, interesting few of them for sure of where they're at, because even like a Deion Babers at Syracuse is at a 4,
and Pat Fitzgerald had a winning record. And he's at a 4.
I guess it was his 1-11 year.
Yeah, after that season, he has a winning record.
That's wild. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Some of these that stand out, but I was surprised to see only 3 of them being winner now, or win or be fired as the highest rating. But yeah, if you want to check that out, go to CBSSports.com. You got all the ratings for all the coaches. But Sam Pittman's at a 1.
Okay, so there is a number in parentheses.
Yeah, that's what they were last year.
That's what they were okay. So Ryan Day.
What's he at?
2.
Ooh, so starting to move up a little bit. He was at I see him here. He's at a 0 last year, completely safe, and now it's 2. That's what happens. You lose to Michigan 2 years in a row. People want to put the pressure on you.
Venables, second season at OU. He's at a 3.
Golly, but I believe it, man. They got crazy expectations there at Oklahoma. They ain't messing around. They want results, and they want it now. And they went 6-7. They went out a losing season last year. Jeez. Yeah, Mike Gundy's moved up to a 2, which I'm a little surprised by him to get up to that point already, but he's been doing a pretty good job. And Dave Aranda at Baylor moved up from 0 to 1. They had a good year. I don't know. Again, there's probably some stuff that goes into how it plays out and the formula and these certain coaches, but it's pretty fascinating just to see it and knowing because they don't do that many for other coaches, but man, college football has it.
Mario Cristobal at a 2 in his second season at Miami. They went 5-7 last year.
Oh, okay.
And he was at a 0 going into last year.
Miami's still one of the biggest mysteries in college football to me. They should be a team that each and every year is competing for at least double-digit wins every year.
Mike Norvell at a 2, but last year he was at a 3.
So he improved his case.
Yes.
He must be probably one of the very few coaches that actually improve their number from the year before. I wouldn't think there'd be many. Because like Mike Elko from Duke improved his 1 spot for the season that they had. Brad Bielema at Illinois, he went from a 2 to a 1.
Oh, yeah, well-deserved.
Yeah, because he had a great year last year. So some coaches have improved their spot. Oh, and also Chris Kleiman from Kansas State. He's at a 2, and now he's at a 0, which he deserves it, too, for the season they had. But, yeah, fascinating stuff when we talk about the hot seat coaching rankings in all of college football. And I know we'll have Michael Bratton on at 2:30 to talk more about that, and we'll get his thoughts on some of the hot seat rankings in college football. But we'll get to what's trending in the world of sports. We got a lot of people that are texting in. We'll get to those too. We'll read some Asher Record Live fan feedback. Again, if you want to get in on the phone lines, 501-661-1037 is that number. We'll have what's trending in the world of sports presented by West Rock Coffee coming up next. Stay with us.
If you're shopping for a vehicle, you want to get to Guadney Chevrolet. Guadney has best deals in the market, been doing it 60-plus years. Give them a call, 501-982-2102. Make a trip to the lot off the Gregory Street exit in Jacksonville. Shop them online, GuadneyChevrolet.com. You can see all the deals, the cash allowances, the rebates, even appraise a vehicle. See just how much it's worth. They're giving thousands over book value, whether you trade that vehicle in or you sell it to Guadney Chevrolet. Guadney is always actively buying vehicles, so you get a great deal on the vehicle that you trade in or sell. See the entire inventory of new and pre-owned vehicles on GuadneyChevrolet.com and get a deal started on GuadneyChevrolet.com before making a trip to the Gregory Street exit in Jacksonville. They have convenient service hours if you need a service, convenient throughout the week. Also, Saturday, 7 a.m. until noon. In case you can't make it throughout the week, it's Guadney Chevrolet, Arkansas's #1 Chevy dealer. Guadney Chevrolet, GuadneyChevrolet.com.
It is a Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds, and get to what's trending in the world of sports in just a second. Had a few people, though, on our Asher Record Live fan feedback. We were talking about the enemy of the state. Gridiron Chick says, well, if we can take anything away from the enemy of the state tournament thus far, it's that Chad Morris finally beat LSU via hammer down. Well, just took him till the enemy of the state bracket to finally beat LSU, but I get you. Mike also says Reggie Fish and Carson Shaddy should be in my bracket, in all due respect. Whoa. That's mean, Mike. That's mean. We can't be mean. Can't be mean. That's the mean bracket. This is the enemy of the state hate bracket. There's a difference. But okay, coming in hot there. Also, Curtis says if we get rid of Sam Pittman, name 3 coaches that would be better to come to Arkansas. I can't. Realistically, I can't. And I don't want to get rid of Sam Pittman. I don't think anybody should, at this point in time, want Sam Pittman fired. And anybody that does, it's a little bit over the top. Like, again, this is a big year, and if it goes haywire and he goes 5-7 or something like that, okay, then let's start having a conversation, because you can't go from 9 wins to 7 wins to 5 wins. Like, you can't do that. But right now, no. I don't think that's even worth a discussion. That's probably why Dennis Dodd had him at a 1, because but if it goes astronomically horrible, then yeah, let's start talking here. And then Rusty says, I figure Oklahoma and Texas's coach would be highly rated on the list. Well, we mentioned Brent Venables and where he was at, but as far as Steve Sarkisian, he went from a 1 last year to a 2. But I think getting Arch Manning probably gives you a little bit of time on your team. Just getting him alone.
It should, but you have to win.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that becomes the theme of it, is like, if you don't win and you have this type of player and you have other players that are highly recruited that want to play with that player, you should be having results on the field and winning.
Yep, that's your job. That's what you got to have happening. And then on our text line, which is not sponsored right now, by the way, so if you want to sponsor it, let us know and we'll get you in contact with our sales staff. Just Chuck says the difference between John L. Smith and Chad Morris is that John L. Smith wrecked a perfectly good race car, while Chad Morris did a horrible job trying to rebuild a team that was already down. That's why John L. Smith is worse. It's a good point. I could accept that one. And also from the 870 says, don't come at me, but I want Wes Johnson as our next head baseball coach after Dave Van Horn retires.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind that. That'd be fine. Again, there's
a conversation to be had.
We'll see what he does at Georgia, but I don't see any reason why he won't be successful there too. And then from the 501 says, if Chad Morris does not win in an absolute landslide, I would be shocked. The deaths of which he took the program were insane. They were legitimate talks of us leaving the SEC because of that joker. Well, I don't think we have to worry about that, 501. He's going to win. And in fact, Steve Sullivan tweeted at me. He was like, you should have just taken Chad Morris out because he's going to win. And I was like, yeah, but you couldn't do it in the first year. But I was like, how about this? Since he's going to win it this year, we'll just name it after him next year. And then just not put him in the conversation or put him in the topics. Just name the entire, instead of enemy of the state, it could be the Chad Morris bracket. Something like that could be pretty fun. But yeah, keep those votes coming in, folks, because we'll have the Hateful 8 announced tomorrow here on the show and give you updates on that. But there's a lot of things happening in the world of sports, so let's talk about what's trending.
What's trending in the world of sports is sponsored by Arkansas-based West Rock Coffee. Join West Rock Coffee and their 1.5 million coffee farmers around the globe as they fuel Arkansas with great tasting coffee, tea, and water delivered directly to your business. Contact them at westrockcoffee.com or 833-886-JAVA today.
All right, what's trending in the world of sports? This is breaking news. Actually, I laugh anytime something like this pops up on like the main page of ESPN. But Rory McIlroy, how he feels about the whole live golf deal. Well, he was quoted telling the reporters of the Scottish Open, If Live Golf was the last place to play golf on earth, I would retire. That's how I feel about it. I'd play the majors, but I'd be pretty comfortable.
Rory is
Okay, Rory.
doubling down, tripling down. He's putting all his chips in.
I'm shocked that he feels so strongly about it. Tell us how you really feel there, Rory. Tell us how you really feel.
Live.
Yeah. So that's why I'm laughing anytime it becomes a thing. It's like, hey, you hear what Rory said about the Live? Oh, did he say something different of how much he hates it? Yeah. It's not exactly breaking news, but still trending nonetheless. But also in other news, Greg Sankey, we mentioned him, the commissioner of the SEC, who is also somebody that was on the enemy of the state bracket, didn't advance in the second round. But he did get a contract extension, which he began back on June 1st of 2015 when he was the 8th commissioner. And he is considered one of the top leaders in college sports. And he's 58 years old, which is pretty incredible. But he's going to have the contract extended all the way to 2028. So good for him. Because, again, you can hate on him, and I get it. I get, like, there's a lot of things out of his control that you may hate him for. But when it comes to being a commissioner of a conference, dude's done an incredible job. Mike Slive was the guy that set the groundwork, and Greg Sankey's taking it to a whole new level because at the end of the day, what's a commissioner's job? Money. And SEC makes a ton of money. So rightfully so, gets an extension there till 2028. Also, we know with the Northwestern job being open, they have an acting coach, not an interim coach, but they're going to be looking for a new head coach because of the Pat Fitzgerald thing. And according to Bradley Locker of Inside NU, which is, of course, a Northwestern outlet, Ed Orgeron has zero interest in the job at Northwestern. He was being rumored as around as a coach because he was there before, and they probably called him up, and he's sitting on the beach in Destin or Miami or something. Yeah. Enjoying his $19 million buyout. And no, I ain't got no interest in that job out here about beach, but call me about 10 years when this money run up, maybe. But that's what cracked me up when I saw that. I'm like, man, Ed Orgeron would be an idiot to go back to college coaching right now, especially at a place like Northwestern. Could you imagine Ed Orgeron, the Cajun from Louisiana up there in Northwestern, some like very high-end academic school? Not saying he couldn't do a good job, but it just seemed like a culture fit would be quite an interesting thing.
He's a motivator, so
he is that.
Wherever he goes, then he would have that going for him. But yeah, at this point, it doesn't make sense for him to coach pretty much anywhere
ever again. He can do whatever he wants, but if I got $19 million, and I think he was in his mid to late 50s, just like, I mean, you're talking about if he lived off of a mere $1 million a year, that's 19 years. He could live until he's 75 almost and be just fine. Like that's the life I would choose.
That money's going to be invested, so it's going to grow on top of the money that's there.
Yeah, it's not funny, but it's still kind of interesting that guy got divorced as soon as he won a national championship at LSU and remained single somehow this whole time.
Yeah, single as in title.
Right,
yeah,
as in married.
He has a main squeeze.
Yeah, he's not married, I should say. Not officially married, but yeah, he's got some things going on for him. Good for you, Coach O. Good for you. Also, speaking of the NCAA, we know the college football playoff is expanding, seems imminent, but the one that's not imminent is college basketball, because we know there's been talks about expanding that. And according to the NCAA today, they say that the NCAA tournament has a meeting this week, but the organization is not expanding the field at this time. So it looks like there's still some things that they got to put into place. Because a lot of it has to do with sponsorships and schools that will be involved, and then how we'll make it work, like all those
schools
things.
That'll be involved.
Well,
all schools want to be involved.
But that's the thing, because, remember, some people are saying they'll just allow certain conferences in and let the low mid-majors out because they want the money in, which I'm like, okay, you better keep all this. If you're going to expand it, I'm not going to stop you. I like it the way it is, but if you expand it, you better keep those mid-majors in, because that's what makes it fun, and that's what's huge for those schools. Let them in. You got 96 teams or whatever.
Unless they're talking about splitting it and having two different tournaments.
No.
Which would bring in more money.
Yeah. But, I mean, don't they have the NIT? Isn't that a different tournament? I don't know. I'm over it. Just be careful with that. That's all I'm saying. We got more Out of Bounds on Trash Talk Thursday coming up next. More of your phone calls and messages, so stay with us. 1 hour down, 2 hours to go. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you, as always, for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, it is a Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds. We want to hear from you, of course. 501-661-1037 is that number to call or to text in. Also got the Asher Record Live fan feedback after me on Twitter at BuzzJohnNeighbors. Going to have Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast join us here in about 20 minutes. Looking forward to catching up with him, talking a little bit about college football and especially the SEC Media Days coming up next week, which we will be live from. So really looking forward to doing that and having some great guests. It's in Nashville for the first time. I believe it's the first time it's been in Nashville. I know they've had it in Hoover most of the time. It was in Tampa last year or Atlanta last year. I know they've had it in Atlanta. I think they had it in Tampa one year. I could be wrong. Anyways, they're moving it all around. It's hard to keep up with, but it might be in Dallas next year is what the rumors are having. I'm all for that.
Okay.
And
keep it moving.
Apparently they're wanting to do it at the Star down there.
Oh, they're going to copy the Big 12.
Almost like, hey, we took your best teams. Now we're going to force you out of there, force you out of your media day time.
Now, the Big 12, they have other options, though. They would go to the Houston area, most likely.
Well, and that's what I've heard, too, is that they would move, or because now that Houston's is joining the Big 12 or has joined the Big 12, they would move there, too. So
they could also do it in Cincinnati. They could do it in Orlando.
Now that would be funny.
Because of UCF.
That'd be cool. Well, I mean, yeah, I think it would be cool, but those media people would be hacked. Like, are you kidding me? Like, because nobody can drive there. No one's going to drive there. That's in the Big 12. It's like you could fly.
Go enjoy Disney World.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, go to the Mouse House and hang out during Big 12 media days. But still, yeah,
that would be something in itself, though, if Big 12 media days were at Disney World. Or any conference for that matter.
Well, I mean, because what does Disney own? That's a huge brand in sports, ESPN.
Yep.
So yeah, it would make sense if they did that, and then who knows, maybe ESPN may push for that at some point. But I would be for that, because I was talking to some people some other SEC media members yesterday too, and we were discussing some stuff we're going to have planned and whatnot, but they were complaining about the Dallas deal. It's like if it moves to there, I'm going to be so upset. It's like, shut up. It's like, well, you know what? I'm glad because it's 4 hours for me. And I'm sick and tired of Arkansas always having to go so far for any of the SEC events. And also, screw you, Alabama people. You got everything in your state. So, yeah, you need to start traveling a little bit more.
Yeah, the coaches and players, it's about the media because coaches and players, they don't care. It's like
they'll go anywhere.
Yeah, they're getting on a private jet and they're there.
Yeah, you're going to have Floyd Mayweather. Call him up and say, hey, get your guy over here, man. Pick us up. We got to go to SEC Media Days. Yeah, they don't care. Yeah, it's about the media. And then they want all the media there that they can be because then more media, more hotel rooms, more stuff that they can pay for. It's a bigger event. So, yeah, they're going to try to accommodate the media. And that's what I told them, too. I'm like, the reason they're doing it in these places is because it's not easy to fly to Hoover or to Birmingham and then go to Hoover for a lot of people. But it's easy to fly to Dallas. It's easy to fly to Atlanta. It's easier to fly to Nashville. That's what it's about. It's just travel arrangements.
Yeah.
But it's not going to change. But either way, we're going to be out there next week and really appreciate First Security Bank, title sponsor of all of our coverage there at SEC Media Days, as well as Kaufman by Design West and UAMS Health. Really looking forward to being out there next week.
Be a good time. Get some great information about the upcoming football season.
No doubt, from all 14 coaches. And the next year will be 16 coaches that'll be involved, and plus the players. And you'll hear from Greg Sankey and hopefully there's some like good stuff, that maybe some controversy that comes out of it. Sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't. But I do miss the days of the Steve Spurrier, Les Miles. You always knew that because they took it as a joke, so they would just say stuff. Like that's what I loved about, especially Steve Spurrier. He would take shots at people. He would make fun of people. He'd go to that Arby's that was down the road and with the sunglasses on, giving the thumbs up, getting his Arby's sauce. He took it as a joke, and so did Les Miles, and that's kind of what made it fun. Even Brett Bielema there for a couple years would cause some controversy, but
Orgeron, he was somebody that a lot of people like hearing from.
Oh yeah, and then also Mike Leach, rest in peace. When he was there, he'd always have some great comments. Lane Kiffin,
oh yeah,
he's going to have something to say. The worst ones were always Gus Malzahn, boring, and I remember what was the coach's name? It was Gary Pinkel when he was there. He was
probably
extremely
just,
boring.
yeah, repeated the same things. A lot of coaches speak.
Oh yeah, and also just so like monotone. And this is what we're gonna do, and we're excited for the upcoming year.
Well, the thing about it is they didn't necessarily want to be there. So
No.
just like the other coaches took a different approach with it. They may not have wanted to be there, but they're like, we're here, it's happening. We're just gonna have fun with it.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily go over the top with it, answering questions, but how about just having some funny moments because we want to get through this thing as quickly as possible.
Exactly. If I was a coach, if you didn't want to take shots at like other SEC coaches, I mean, you can. I think it'd be fun if you did, especially if it was just in good fun. But if you don't want to do that, take shots at other conferences or other teams. Just make fun of them, being like, yeah, we got all the best teams joining our conference. They're leaving that other conference where who'd they add? Oh yeah, Central Florida. Ooh, yeah, great one. Just do something, have some trash talk. It's great because that's why it's Trash Talk Thursday. We love trash talk. We love it, especially during talking season as it was. But my first SEC media days when I was bringing up Les Miles, I remember this is when I really realized how weird he was. So how it does is they have a big room where all the coaches go to talk, like that's on the SEC network, like it's on TV. And then they have like 3 other rooms. They have a thing called a radio, like podcast room or something. That's another group of people, like smaller, but you only get like 5 minutes, so you get less time. And they just kind of jump around. Well, in that podcast radio room, since there's only 5 minutes, if coaches didn't want to talk, they'd sit down and they'd be like, okay, I'm going to give an opening statement. I'm going to talk for 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes, and then maybe get one question in. Kevin Sumlin did that every time because he never wanted to be asked. But Les Miles did the same thing too, because he sat down and didn't get asked anything or whatnot. He just sits down, and this was during I think it was the World Cup, something to do with soccer. But he's just like, I've been watching this soccer thing here lately, and the thing about soccer is it's got FIFA in it, and the F, one of the F's in FIFA stands for federation. And when you hear the word federation, don't you just always think of a guy holding a gun and just a guy that's just like sitting there protecting somebody or, about to save
so he
a
went on
princess.
for almost 5 minutes about that.
It wasn't, I don't know if it was 5 minutes, but it was like half the time. And everyone was like, okay.
He wanted to change it up though, because you're going to get those same questions
exactly
every time you move. And that's why it probably does make sense for a lot of those coaches. Oh, it's only 5 minutes. Well, let me go in here and just talk for 5 minutes as opposed to being asked a couple more questions that we've already answered.
Yeah. I would hope one coach could just, after going to the big room and getting asked all the football questions, then they send this room like, all right, I'm not answering any football questions. Y'all can ask me about my favorite foods, like just something like that to have some fun with it, which I also think some people do too. But I think it's fun. I think it's enjoyable to get to know some of the coaches and see some of the personality that they have going with it too. But we'll see if any controversy or any fun comes out from it next week. But Sam Pittman and Arkansas go Wednesday morning, right after Alabama and Nick Saban. So great. The police escorts for Coach Saban and him.
That'll be nice.
Around.
That'll be a fun day.
Oh yeah. It's going to be the most crowded day for sure. Well, because I don't know. It's in Tennessee. It may not be as crowded. There'll still be fans there from Alabama. But
absolutely, it's a short drive for them also.
Yeah. Georgia fans, though, are feeling themselves after back-to-back titles. So they may want to make their presence known up there in Nashville. And Tennessee fans will be there. I don't know how many Vandy fans will be.
No, they're going to be there. They're there.
Yeah. I mean, but it's just, do they care? Do they care that much? Are we going to see the guys that dress up as Bear Bryant there? Or the guy with the ring on his head? We're going to see those people. Are they going to make the trip? Don't know.
If they've been at all the other locations and realized that it hadn't been just moving around a lot, but if they've been at each one, you would expect that they would be there.
Yeah, they better be, because they're as much a staple as anybody, that's for sure. Just Chuck texted in and said, the lesson that we have learned from Eric Musselman is that flamboyant coaches that are always putting their program in the spotlight recruit really well. Boring coaches likely suffer worse recruiting results. I think there's some truth to that, but you got to be able to also be good at it as a coach too. Like, you can be flamboyant and crazy all day long, but if you're not having the results on the court to go along with it, one, that'll make you get out the door a lot quicker. And two, no one's going to pay attention to you if you don't have the results to come along with it.
Right. And then people will get irritated with some of those antics if you're not winning.
Yeah. That's kind of where at least I'm at. And I know other people are at. Like Eli Drinkwitz is an example, which he's won. And of course, he's beaten Arkansas 2 out of 3 years, not taking that away from him. But he does have a lot of antics that get on people's nerves. And it's like, dude, you never had a winning record yet. Like, that's kind of annoying. So, there's ways to do it, and there's ways to get the recruiting out there. But I don't blame coaches of schools. Like with Tony Vitello at Tennessee is a great example. Tennessee was a non-existent baseball program, really. And he's in a big pond in the SEC where he's all these pros. Like, how am I going to stand out? I'm going to allow my players to come in and kind of cause some problem, like rustle it up a little bit, have some fun, do some bat flips. And players love that. And so,
and it leads to getting other players like that are highly recruited and really good players.
That's right. And it leads to them like, man, I can go have fun there. It looks like it's a fun place to be. And so, yes, it can work out for you, and there's reasons to do it. But, I wouldn't say Nick Saban or Kirby Smart's flamboyant, and they're the ones that are the most successful coaches in this conference. And they're not flamboyant.
They allow their players to express their personality, and if they're winning, they don't care how these players and other people will take from that. Well, they're having all these off-field problems, but some of that sometimes comes along with the territory. If you have some players that are winning at a high level, then sometimes they do have some off-field issues.
And it's not right or wrong, but sometimes it's easier to overlook those things when you're having the high success on the field too. Asher Record Life fan feedback. This comes from Rich. He says, how awkward is Texas and Oklahoma feeling right now at Big 12 Media Days? Morning guys were talking like it would be like Arkansas last year in the Southwest Conference. LSU baseball hitting the portal hard again. Also getting that big lefty after he was drafted. The Rory deal. He would not have said that if he didn't shoot what he did today. He is an idiot and just keeps digging his own hole even bigger. You see, Tiger kept his mouth shut. Rory is starting to get guys on the PGA Tour mad at him as well and starting to alienate himself.
That is a wonder, though. Why is Rory still speaking about this, or was he asked about it in some kind of way? Because it does get to a point where you just let this thing just die down as far as talking about it.
Yeah,
publicly.
I would assume he was asked about it because I'm sure that there's reporters there that know we asked Rory, he's going to give us a great quote. And when he does, people are going to start talking about it. So there's going to be people that I'm sure ask him about it. Be like, hey, see the Liv did this. What's your thoughts? And he's going to give his thoughts on it.
So why can't Rory, though, at this point just get to it where he says, okay, we've talked about this. I've addressed it. You guys know how I feel. This is it. We're not going to talk about this anymore. They are out of my mind. Don't want to hear about them. I don't like them. We're not talking about them anymore.
It would make sense. But I think with him, and again, it's just my guess, I guess like with the whole merging of PGA and Liv, it's almost like if that didn't happen, maybe at this point we'd finally get to where he would stop talking about it. But it's almost like he just set that thing on fire once again.
But even then, when the merger happened, he really expressed how he felt about that.
Correct.
So it's like, how he feels.
Yeah.
The question shouldn't be asked anymore.
Yeah. I mean, but if he keeps giving you answers like this, then he's
they're going to keep
ask.
Yeah, for sure. They're going to keep asking as long as he answers.
Yeah. So that's the thing on Rory. Rory just needs to stop and just move on, man. Like you can't do anything about it now. Just go play golf. Go win some majors. You need some of those and keep it moving, man. That's all you got to do. But yeah, great Asher Record there. Rich, you jumped around to 3 different things there. But as far as the Oklahoma-Texas deal, I don't think it's awkward for them. I mean, it may be awkward for people there knowing that it's not going to be them next season, but
yeah, Texas and OU, they're there, and they're like, yeah, we don't care.
Yeah, it's like
we're not going to be here next year.
Yeah, what was it, Magic Johnson? I ain't going to be here next. I'm going to be here by then. It's kind of that thing. They're not going to be here next year. They're moving on. They don't care. And
now, if there's anything that's important to the league, some significant changes that they have to pay attention to because of the fact that they're going to play one more season, maybe that's one thing. But as far as if they're discussing things in the future and what's moving forward, Texas and OU, they're like, yeah, I'm not going to be here for that.
Yeah, we don't worry about it because not only did you have Mike Gundy yesterday talking about Oklahoma and Bedlam and not happening, but even Sonny Dykes, who, of course, is at TCU, team that played in the national championship, which if I'm Sonny Dykes, I am flying high and I'm going to talk trash because it's like nobody did what you did last year. And he said with people asking him at media days about the moves being made, he said, if it's all about lining your pockets with money, the decisions are really easy. It's like, look at Missouri. They were playing in a lot of Big 12 championships. Haven't seen that much in the SEC. Says A&M was a competitive program. Not so often now. He's like, I don't know about you, but UCLA and Rutgers feel like more of a natural rivalry to us than those teams do.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, man,
he went way over the top.
He is flying high. Again, like if you played in the championship game against Georgia, granted, you got your taints handed to you and you lost $60 billion to nothing, it seemed like. But no, it's like no other Big 12 team has played in the college football championship, and You've been the first one to do it. At least I don't think they have.
No other Texas teams.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the most success out of all the Texas teams last season, so they had bragging rights.
Oh, yeah. I would ride that until you can't ride it anymore, Coach Dykes. Do everything you can. He also said, don't know what's going to happen with Oklahoma and Texas, but I think time will tell. You can say, well, we were 4-8, but we made a lot of money. At the end of the day, if that's what's it about, congratulations. We'll see you then. Okay, Coach Dykes, letting everybody know about Texas and Oklahoma now. You do not care about it. Going to be moving on. Just Chuck even says, Texas and Oklahoma being at the Big 12 Media Days is like a husband and wife who are waiting for their divorce to be finalized, but still having to show up for piano recital and soccer games together.
That sounds about right. That's a great comparison, great analogy.
Forced awkwardness is what he refers to. That is 100% true, except one of the, whether it's the husband or the wife, is moving on to, in their minds, a much better marriage with a lot more money and going to be a lot happier. And the other one's bitter about it and hates them for it. So, yeah, but it's true. There is a very big awkwardness, I'm sure, going on right now at Big 12 Media Days. But I guess is it Big 12 and Pac-12 are this week? And SEC, ACC maybe are next week? I don't know when all the conferences go. But, yeah, Big 12 has been going on and having it in Dallas and at the Star. I've never been to the Star. I guess it's is it like a big event center essentially?
It is. Yeah, it's the Cowboys practice facility.
Okay.
So they have a stadium there that they can play high school games. They could play small college games. They have all kinds of attractions there. Whenever the Cowboys were, when they were on Hard Knocks, they did a drone that flew through there and you saw all the different areas and really great facility and a lot of attractions around there.
I mean, are we surprised that Jerry Jones would have a less than elite facility, whatever
Not
it
at
is,
all.
whatever it is? Because isn't it Little Rock Catholic here? Because that's where Jerry Jones donates a lot of money there. Don't they have something like a star on one of their facilities from that?
That I don't know.
Okay, I thought that's what I heard. I remember there was something comparable that's like at the Star and the Frisco, but there's also something here at Catholic. I could be wrong, but I know they donates a lot of money to that school and has a huge imprint on there.
It's amazing that two NFL owners came from the same high school. Jed York of the 49ers. They're both from the same high school.
Yeah, that is weird. I didn't realize that. And very successful owners.
Yes.
Very successful owners. Man.
And it's only 32 of them.
Yeah, my buddies went to that school, and I'm like, what are y'all doing? He's like, hey, why don't you guys own NFL teams? What's going on there? But, yeah, because did Jerry's grandkids or did any of his – I think his kids maybe went to Catholic.
They did,
here too.
Yeah. Steven went there.
That's right. So, yeah, great connections there too. But we'll see if it's at the Star next year. But it'll be fun to see what all plays out next week at SEC Media Days. But we're taking a break because coming up, we got Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast. We'll talk to him about some of these hot seat rankings we were discussing and get his thoughts and opinions on what to expect out of SEC Media Days next week, maybe some of the big storylines too. We'll keep it moving on a Trash Talk Thursday. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned. You're not out of bounds.
It's a great time to get to Twin Peaks for happy hour, 2 to 7, later happy hour, 10 to close. Enjoy all the food and drink specials that go along with it. Get a lunch combo starting as low as $7.99. If you want to take some food to go, you can order online, curbside, or to go, courtesy of Postmates, DoorDash, and Uber Eats. Bikini Week continues on through today at Twin Peaks. Great drink specials to celebrate during Bikini Week, including watermelon margaritas, but plenty more that you can ask about at Twin Peaks, that you get great drink specials there. So just ask about the drink specials during Bikini Week through today. Twin Peaks has plenty of seating inside and out, wall-to-wall TVs to see all the sports action. There's MLB, combat sports, Wimbledon, NBA Summer League, Barbasol Championship, and Genesis Scottish Open. They're this week, and those are 2 golf tournaments getting us ready for the Open Championship. So all the sports are there at Twin Peaks. It's an all-around great time, great food and drinks. It's Twin Peaks. Eats, drinks, scenic views.
It's Trash Talk Thursday here on Out of Bounds. Going to have Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast joining us here in just a second. As we'll talk to him about the SEC Media Days and just college football in general. Also, I want to get his thoughts on the hot seat ratings, mainly for Sam Pittman, because Dennis Dodd, for those of you just joining us, does a great job of covering all things college football. He had Sam Pittman where 0 is untouchable and 5 is win now or get fired. He had Sam Pittman as a 1. So that was about as high as you could get for securing your job, unless you're like Kirby Smart or Nick Saban. So it just depends on how you look at it and how you approach it. But I know that there's been people that either agree with that or disagree with that. It's up to you. And of course, it depends on if you're a Razorback fan or not. But we'll talk about that and a lot more as we go to the Jones and Sun Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline and welcome in Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast, friend of the show. And Mike, as always, appreciate you joining us, man. How you doing this afternoon?
Oh, doing great, John. Just gearing up for SEC Media Day, so I appreciate you making some time for me.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So, actually, let's start there with SEC Media Days. It's in Nashville. I know it's your neck of the woods, something you've been able to call home for a while. So I'm sure you're excited about not having to travel for it. But also, just generally speaking, is there one thing that stands out to you the most as far as the headlines going into this, with maybe Texas and Oklahoma joining, maybe the cliche one, but what's the biggest storyline for you right now heading into next week?
It's probably Georgia and all their off-the-field issues, if I'm putting it kindly, because this has all the signs. I mean, all off-season, John. I know you've been hearing it. We've all been hearing it. Georgia, they should be number 1 in the country, and a lot of people have them pegged as the likely champion once again, which is incredible to think a team could go 41 years without winning a title and then going 3 for 3. But I certainly think the signs are there that they are losing track of what they need to be focused on. Clearly, I mean, it just seems like every week there's a new headline out of Athens, and they're almost all negative.
You could imagine that going into the SEC Media Days with Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher is probably going to get tired of answering questions about Bobby Petrino and the offense and how everything is going to work there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, usually, Joe, when someone, if anybody missed it, these spring press conferences, they are usually that's when you get some really good stuff from these coaches, because they're at ease, they're willing to answer things because there's no pressure, there's no games, and that was the most combative press conference I've ever seen in my life for the spring. And Jimbo was just simply asked, will he call plays or will it be Bobby Petrino? He couldn't even give it a straight answer. So that is only going to ramp up as we get closer and closer to the season, and particularly if the Aggies struggle on offense, which they've done about every year for the past 10 years. I mean, this is a powder keg that could explode at any time in College Station.
Well, one thing we were discussing, too, was been coaches' hot seats. And Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports ranked all 133 coaches in college football, at least in the FBS level, of where their hot seat ranks. He had Jimbo Fisher as the one with the hottest seat. Is it just him and him alone in the SEC as far as being on the hot seat in this conference? Or are there a couple of other coaches that maybe you would put into this category of, hey, this year you better show us something, or there might be some changes?
Yeah, it's funny. I knew we were going to talk about this. I'm not a big fan of hot seat talk in the summer because we're supposed to be optimistic. We're supposed to be positive. Everybody's going
No,
to go
none of
12
that
and
here.
0.
We can't be optimistic here.
But of course, that's not reality. Once these games come in and people start losing, I mean, there's two guys that I have my eyes on in the SEC aside from Jimbo, and I would argue, I mean, with the talent and everything that he has and the resources, it's despicable that they went 5-7 last year. They should have fired him already. But two guys to keep their eyes on, and one of them just got a contract extension, but that's not worth the paper it's written on, and that's Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, because hey, maybe 5-10 years ago we give someone 4, 5, 6 seasons to see what they can do. Missouri is just, I mean, they've been below 500 every year, and I realize it's not a historically great program. I'm not saying it is, but this has got to be the year where they show something. And by something, I'm saying 7, 8 wins. I think that's realistic if things break right. If not, we may have to move on from Drink. His recruiting has certainly suffered last cycle, and it's suffering now. And then the other guy, this is crazy to even say, but Billy Napier at Florida. I mean, this is not a joke when I say this, but Vanderbilt is a must-win game because they lost to Vanderbilt last year. They host them this year. If they lose to Vanderbilt in the middle of the year in the swamp, Billy Napier should be fired immediately, I think.
Who are you most interested in hearing from, whether it's a coach or player at SEC Media Days?
Most interested in here from, I mean, it's always been Mike Leach, rest in peace. He's not going to be there, so I guess I got to shift to the other coach in that state. I'm going with Lane Kiffin because you never know quite what you're going to get out of him. And he's kind of been talking out both sides of his mouth about the NIL this off season. I know he's bringing Judkins. It's rare that you see a true sophomore at an event like this, but I bet Lane Kiffin's going to talk about some of the fellow coaches down there trying to poach his star running back. So you just never know what you're going to get out of Lane Kiffin. That's kind of my favorite thing about media days. We all go into it with narratives and talking points, and that typically all gets thrown out the window because there's news that actually happens at the event.
Speaking with Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast here on the Jones and Son Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline. Yeah, and looking at media days too, and knowing that it's going to be in Nashville and it's going to be a different vibe and everything too. I always miss the days of when coaches like Steve Spurrier or Les Miles would just kind of treat it as a joke. Where they would give some answers here and there, but their approach was just kind of like, I'm just going to say whatever I want to say and have some fun with it. Do you feel like there will be some of that this year, or do you feel like it's going to be maybe just a Lane Kiffin and maybe one other coach that'll kind of stir it up a little bit? But I just don't want it to be boring, I guess is my fear. I don't want it to be boring coach speak the entire time. We need some trash talk going on.
No, 100%. I'm right there with you. I wish they would all trash talk. I mean, I thought that's what was the whole point of media days, but you're right. I mean, I guess with it being televised and all the coverage, I mean, some of these guys are scared to death to say. I mean, Nick Saban and Kirby Smart can literally say anything they want. It's not going to catch up to them on the field, and no one's going to put them on the hot seat. So why not? But I'm certainly glad when there's no disrespect to Nick Saban, but I'm always glad when one of his disciples get fired in the SEC because all these guys, they go by the same code and they refuse to say anything interesting with a microphone in front of their face. So I wish we could go back to the old days where coaches would let it fly, and I would even encourage them to drink alcohol. I don't know if I'm surely that's not allowed, but I'd be in favor of it.
Mike, you could be a tour guide in a sense, being there in Nashville. So what are some must to do whenever you have downtime in Nashville?
Drink. That's the main one. So I mean that's what everybody's going to be doing down there. It's right down on Broadway. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's construction all around the hotel. So they picked the worst possible time. They're redoing an entire bridge right there. So it's going to be a train wreck getting in and out of there. But yeah, I can only imagine how many drinks will be consumed down there on Broadway. But as far as that, I mean, that's the main attraction there. Just go see some live music, get some good drinks in you. It's hot as can be here. So you need several just to cool down.
Yeah, is there a karaoke place? I think that's the most important thing that we got to figure out. I'm sure there is, maybe one or two in the city of Nashville, but like, can you help us out because we got to keep the tradition going?
Yeah, honestly, not a big karaoke guy, but I know for a fact there's about half a dozen within walking distance of the hotel. So, yeah, you're gonna be just fine. I mean, you could throw a football and hit a karaoke bar in downtown Nashville.
Good to know. Well, hey, listen. Also, we're going back. I know you don't like talking about the hot seat type of stuff, but I I was curious because Dennis Dodd should say had Sam Pittman as a one with zero being untouchable, and Sam Pittman as a one heading into this season. I'm not saying that he should be a five or even a four or anything like that, but I thought it'd be a little bit higher. What do you make of this season for Sam Pittman and the importance of it and going forward as a Razorback head coach, knowing that he's not going to have KJ next year, he's not going to have Rocket Sanders next year. You got two new teams joining the conference. Just how important of a season is this for Sam Pittman to be able to bounce back from going 6-6 from last season and have an even better year this season?
Yeah, no, I agree 100% with you, and I'm one of the biggest Sam Pittman fans out there, so I'm rooting for him. But this is a paramount year, and I think it's because the changes at coordinator and how last season ended, and there certainly seems from the outside looking in like some issues in the locker room, to put it kindly. So, have they moved on from all that, or does that seep over to another season? What happens if they significantly downgraded at both coordinator spots, which I don't think is the case, but we can't completely rule it out either until we see it on the field. So, I mean, there is a path to Sam Pittman exiting the season on a pretty hot seat. I really do think. Again, I don't think that's going to happen, but to put him at a one, no, I wouldn't quite go that far. I'd probably put him at a two. So again, not very close to the hot seat, but certainly a situation to monitor. This is a huge year for him. I don't think you really judge a head coach on who he initially hires because stability is all about replacing coordinators. Because as long as he's going to be the coach at Arkansas, if he keeps nailing these coordinator hires, people are going to try to steal him away. So what's his ability to rehire those guys? We just don't know that until this fall.
Well, they better back off because hopefully the Arkansas has a big year this year and can have some momentum. I think they can, but as you said, they got to show it on the field and they got to keep KJ Jefferson healthy. That's the most important thing. But Mike, as always, dude, appreciate it. We'll see you in Nashville next week, man. Have a good weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Again, Michael Bratton of that SEC podcast joining us on the Jones and Son Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline. Take a break, come back with more of your phone calls and messages, as well as your Raise Your Hog update presented by True Service. You won't want to miss it, so stay tuned. Set of bounds on Trash Talk Thursday, but one place we're never going to talk trash about is Guatney Chevrolet in Jacksonville because, hey, listen, the sun's out. It was raining this morning, and it was a little dicey out there, but now the sun's out. It's still in the middle of July. So some of you are going to be going on a road trip, maybe with the family. Maybe you're going out of town, or maybe, just maybe, you're getting ready for football season, and you're going to be driving up to Fayetteville for those Razorback games. So here's the deal. You don't want to do it in some old car, one that doesn't do it for you, that doesn't look good, that doesn't fit the whole family. Everyone's uncomfortable. The air conditioning ain't working right. Waste no more time, folks. Go to Guatney Chevrolet and get you something real nice, as Cousin Eddie would say, because they got so many nice vehicles when it comes to their brand new inventory, whether it's Silverados, whether it's Tahoes, whether it's full-size vehicles, they got it all for you. And if you're looking for something a little pre-owned, maybe you got the kid turning 16, or for their graduation gift that's going to be taking place here this fall or this spring, depending on if they're in high school or college. Doesn't matter. Get you a pre-owned vehicle for them, too. They got it all at Guatney Chevrolet. If you don't believe me, see for yourself. You can check out their inventory at GuatneyChevrolet.com, but just bypass that. Go see them in person. Go see our guy Grant over there. He'll make sure that he gets you taken care of at Guatney Chevrolet, right there off the Gregory Street exit in Jacksonville at 1301 TP White Drive. It's Guatney Chevrolet and GuatneyChevrolet.com. I'm going to have Dudley Dawson of Hogville.net joining us here in just a little bit. I guess about 15, even less than that, probably like 20 minutes, 12 minutes, not 20 minutes, 12 minutes. We'll talk to him about some of the stuff going on with Arkansas and recruiting and get some summer league updates, too, on some of these players in the NBA. I know, I think he's probably been a little bit interested in watching Jordan Walsh with the Celtics. Could be
absolutely.
Wrong. Could be wrong, which he had a great game last night. Another great game for him. Seeing those highlights of him hitting threes, it's just like, we didn't get to see that much this in college, but man, look at him now.
He said they were holding him back offensively.
Yeah. Don't have to worry about that in the summer leagues anymore. No more holding you back, Jordan.
No, there's more space in the NBA game. So if you are one of those guys who you enjoy the spacing and you get some of those opportunities on kickouts to shoot those wide open threes, that's what he's capitalizing on.
Yeah, and I know I'm rooting for him. I know every Razorback fan's rooting for him, and all the players there for Arkansas that's performing in the summer league. In fact, last night I watched a little bit of the Magic with Anthony Black, had a little tip in, which was really cool, and seeing that. But I think it's almost like making worlds collide, where you see both him and Au'Diese Toney on the court together. That's kind of a cool thing. Two players that were a year separated from at Arkansas, but were only 1 year players at Arkansas and had a huge impact on those teams that they played for.
Some of the summer league numbers are always interesting too. Au'Diese Toney, number 51. You don't see that a lot in NBA, but he's somebody that's trying to make the team, and he wants to at least be on a two-way contract where he can go back and forth between NBA and G League. But yeah, you see some odd numbers sometimes that normally wouldn't be worn during the season, but those numbers get pared down as you get to training camps and you get to the NBA season.
I saw somebody with 57 last night. I'm like, I'm not saying that would be the number they stick with if they get to the league and to the NBA or anything like that, but I was like, I don't know any other 57s, so you could be unique that way. You keep that number. Because is Nick Smith 00? Is that what he is? I believe
that was the number that he chose from the start. So as soon as they put his jersey on display, the number that he chose, number 00.
See, I wish he would have had 00 at Arkansas. I thought that would have been cool. Because there's only been 2 00s at Arkansas. I can remember it was Kai Madden and Michael Washington. There's been a few zeros, but he's been that number. I don't remember what number Ricky Council is. Because I know when he was at Arkansas, he's number 1, but I don't remember what he is in the G League or in the summer league. But either way, doesn't matter. They're balling out. They're doing good, and that's what matters the most to them. So just got a few minutes, so let's go ahead and jump into your Razor Hog update presented by True Service.
Guys, I've got just one thing I want to say to you. Touchdown, Arkansas!
Arkansas wins the national championship! The Arkansas Razorbacks have completed the dream season!
Hogs by 90!
This is your Razor Hog Update on Out of Bounds, presented by True Service Community Federal Credit Union, where they offer new mortgage loans, refinancing, auto loans, and small business loans. Online at trueservice.net.
All right, so for your Razor Hog update, just a few things that have been going on. We mentioned Jordan Walsh and the great game that he had yesterday for the Celtics. He had 25 points in the Celtics victory, 95-90 comeback win over the Lakers. Walsh finished 10 of 20 from the field, 2 of 7 from three-point range. He was 7 of 9 in the lane, including 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal in 30 minutes of play. So nice performance out of him. And also with Anthony Black, he had a great game. 14 rebounds for Anthony Black last night. Like, that's
impressive,
man, for a point guard to be that type of rebounder. I know he's taller, and I know he's got some length to him, but that's always, I'm sure, really good to see from the Magic standpoint of, hey, he can, if he needs to score, he can do that. If he needs to get assists, he can do that. But he's also not afraid to get down there and get some rebounds too as a guard. So really cool for him. Also, Razorback basketball finalized a few non-conference games that they'll be playing this upcoming season. I wish I could sit here and tell you it's going to blow your mind of who they're playing, but still some good opponents nonetheless, as they will be facing off against Old Dominion November 13th in Bud Walton Arena, North Carolina Greensboro on November 17th, and UNC Wilmington on December 30th, all in Fayetteville, which Greensboro and in Wilmington, they played this past season. And the other one will be the game that's actually here in Central Arkansas, Lipscomb. They'll be playing them December 16th at Simmons Bank Arena, which, ironically enough, that was the team they played in baseball at Dickey-Stevens Park this past year. So maybe there was like a two-way deal or something for that.
Those are all teams that on a given year, they make the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yeah. Each team won over 20 games last year, and each team is returning 4 of their leading scorers. So Muss knows what he's doing with those RPI, those adjustments, where he plays teams that are good, but not too good, where it should be a pretty good win for them. But they're starting to get the schedule together. We know they play in Atlantis. We know they play Duke. So it should be a good conference and non-conference schedule for the Razorbacks next season. So there's your Razor Hog update presented by True Service. Going to have Dudley Dawson of Hogville.net joining us on the other side of the break. You won't want to miss it. So stay tuned here on Out of Bounds. 2 hours down, 1 hour to go. Appreciate everybody listening in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. John Nabors, Joe Franklin, broadcasting live from the Hoggs Meat Market Studios with you today. And thank you, as always, for making us a part of your afternoon. This afternoon, it's been a great Trash Talk Thursday, talking about some college football coaches' hot seat rankings. Also getting into some basketball. I mean, we're talking about it all today. Let's be honest. It's that time of year. A lot of sporting events going on, and even some recruiting has been going on. Some news out of the state of Arkansas, and hopefully some good news for the Razorbacks tomorrow. So a lot of things that we have to dive into with our next guest as we go to the Jones and Sun Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline. And welcome in our guy, Dudley Dawson of Hogville.net, friend of the show, jack of all trades, knows his sports, and really loves his teams. But Dudley, as always, man, appreciate you joining us this afternoon. How you doing?
Not a problem. Glad to do it. I'm very hot. I've been outside all day, and it's not a good thing for a man my size.
Well, usually that's for a concert or something like that, but it doesn't sound like something you're enjoying, or at least not something watching the Cardinals play or something like that.
Well, I think I'd like to have one of these air-conditioned helmets while out here covering 7-on-7 football. I think that's the next thing to come along. If the players get them, I think the media is going to have to join in on that too. We'll see if we can't get Landy Beavers, Hogville, to hook me up with some type of St. Louis Cardinal cap that has a air-conditioned filter in it.
So what have you seen so far with 7-on-7? Anything impressive?
Well, this Shiloh tournament is one that brings a lot of Oklahoma teams. Bixby, Broken Arrow being two of the teams. Muskogee, a lot of teams that win state titles over there a lot. Same way with Arkansas. I think there are 5 total state champions here today, and it's been some pretty good competition. Interestingly, a lot of young quarterbacks are here, including Shiloh Christian has a ninth grader that's going to start for them this year after Eli Wisdom has started for 3 years. So it's been fun to watch some youthful teams, but some teams really good. And as I said, they're getting used to the heat.
Well, Dudley, I know that there's been some major recruiting news, at least in the football side of things this week, and we'll talk about possibly what's going on tomorrow. But some people saw that there was a linebacker from here in the States, from Jonesboro, Brian Huff, that had committed to Missouri. Some outlets have him as a 3-star, some as a 4-star, and I saw some people had some reactions to this. But what could you tell us about his commitment going to Missouri? Was Arkansas in the mix? And just the story about him and his decision to go play for Missouri.
Yeah, I would say that, first of all, Brian Huff is a great young man. I want to get that out there before I discuss his recruiting. Certainly he has grown since Arkansas first showed interest in him. You don't want to miss on linebackers, but he says he just felt more at home at Missouri. That's going to happen occasionally. Walker White, the quarterback of Little Christian, obviously is headed to Auburn, and Braylon Russell will make his decision tomorrow. So Arkansas has missed out on a few guys. They really had a good start to the 2024 recruiting cycle. I think it's been tough. These last 7 announcements, I think they've got just one, so they're going to have to turn it back up a little bit. But if you're being objective about it, it's tough when you lose, whether it's a 3-star or 4-star. It's tough when you lose one of the best players in Arkansas. I think Brian Huff is that. Certainly Walker White is, and Braylon Russell, if he ends up going to Tennessee, which seems to be the hot rumor, I think will, those will be tough. You got to go back and recruit over them, and that's tough.
What's Brian Huff's measurables? What kind of size are we talking about, and maybe speed? What does he bring to the table?
At last check, I think he was 6'3", about 225, so very good size. That'll get you to about 240 once you get to college, get on a weight program. Although I must tell you, a good friend of mine, Buck Willie, is his trainer, has done a great job in molding him. I should probably get on that program because the guy looks like a Greek god. And, again, I think he's going to be a very good player in Missouri. Obviously, it's not over till you sign him, but, I think he's one of the best players in Northeast Arkansas, and obviously one of the best players in the state. Again, Arkansas has done a great job recruiting with this new staff, but they're missing out on a few, and so, again, you got to close well.
Well, Dudley, the one that I know people are really waiting on is Braylon Russell, who seems to have Arkansas, of course, in the mix. Tennessee's into the mix. I know people have put their little crystal balls together, and a lot of them have him committing to Arkansas, and his decision, I guess, will be made at Benton High School tomorrow. What kind of player, first off, is he going to be? Because anytime you have a four-star player at the state of Arkansas, it's always a big deal. But also, do you feel like he's leaning towards one direction or the other when it comes to the school he's attending?
Well, I want to be honest with you. I talked to our guy at Hogville, Otis Kirk, who does obviously most of our football recruiting. Talked to a few others, Richard Davenport, some others that I believe that they all at one point thought he was leaning toward Tennessee. Seems to have a very good connection with Josh Heupel and those guys over there. I know Arkansas would love to have him. He's a player. He's one of these guys that was bigger than a lot of everybody else when he was growing up. He's a running back that I think could play a variety of positions as well, because I think he's very tough and could play some on defense as well. He's not necessarily blessed with blazing speed, but I would say maybe you look at a guy like Ezekiel Elliott would be maybe a comparison in terms of what he does in terms of out there on the field, in terms of running style and getting tough yards and stuff like that. At least Ezekiel Elliott before this last year.
What's the story behind Braylon Russell and decommitting from Arkansas and reopening his recruitment?
I think that from everything I heard, that he thought he did it a little bit early, and he did do it very early sophomore year. Tennessee got in the mix, some other schools. So often these Arkansas coaches, regardless of whether it's Sam Pittman's staff or others, have to find some of these guys early on, and then they have to hold everybody off. And I think this is one situation where he decided to open it back up. He obviously started his career at Hot Springs Lakeside, playing for Jerry McBride, former Arkansas quarterback and player up here. Moved on to where he's at now. Benton is playing for a great coach. And, I think it's just, you never know. It used to be, I think, a lot of kids wanted to stay home. I think the world's getting smaller these days, and I think that kids are not, staying home has not become as big a thing as it has, whether it's in this state or others. But, I think that has a lot to do with TV and the amount of publicity that other schools, other programs get now. And it makes the world seem a little bit smaller. We'll see.
You know what went into his move, transferring to Benton?
No, I never said. I guess the way would be a straight answer. I think he wanted to go somewhere else. My understanding early on that didn't work out. Some type of agreement. Maybe it was worse, and he got to Benton. Certainly had a great season for them last year. So they can have a great senior season. But they don't share everything with us. So we ask a lot of questions. Don't share everything with us. But it seemed like that. Lakeside was disappointed. Benton was happy. And we'll just leave it at that.
We're speaking with Dudley Dawson of Hogville.net here on the Jones and Son Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline. So, Dudley, I love fans, and I'm sure you do too, whenever a player from the state of Arkansas that maybe they wanted doesn't go to Arkansas, that goes out of state, goes to some other school, goes to an SEC rival, whatever it is, and people start freaking out. They start saying what's going on. And this year, I laugh because we already got people feeling that way, even though Courtney Crutchfield, Charleston Collins, also C.J. Brown, three of the top tier players in the state are all coming to Arkansas, but there's sometimes like a Walker White who goes to Auburn. So it's about positions and everything. So for those that may be upset or worried or concerned about the in-state recruiting in Arkansas, what would you tell those people going forward with Sam Pittman and the staff that he's assembled in the job that they're doing in recruiting right now?
I would say that you should be. You should be worried. If that you've got passion about a football program, if people didn't care, I think that would be an issue. But they do. You're not going to get everyone. I think, as I said, these last seven haven't gone their way from both in-state guys and out-of-state guys. I do think that, to get the class that they wanted to, they really needed to get some of these guys. But you do the same thing that, really Eric Musselman does a lot. If you don't get a guy, you got to go get somebody that either is as good as that guy or has the potential and has a higher ceiling that you can go get. That's easier said than done. But, I would not, I would not sit there and say, through the National Lampoon Animal House thing here that, everything's all right when Niedermeyer says, it's a parade. I'm not going to tell you everything's all right. I'm going to tell you it's better than you think it is, but, you need to get these Arkansas kids.
Of course, the coaching staff, they want to get the best players, but fans, is there more of an excitement about the in-state players because they follow them more closely and they're more familiar with them?
Absolutely. And the media coverage, it just makes sense that the media coverage, because these kids are playing in Arkansas, there's a variety of outlets that cover them, including Fearless Friday, which is, who I was out there at the 707 for today. They hear about these kids a lot more than they say a running back from Tennessee or one from Florida. Could be just as good a player, but because you really don't want to have 4 stars leaving the state, going somewhere else. I guess it's sort of like maybe dating in high school when your girlfriend drops you. It doesn't feel great, but maybe 30 years later you marry her, and that's some personal experience there. So
Yeah, a little personal flavor on that one too, Dudley.
like
you
it.
know better than anybody. I know that's with high school recruiting, it's ever ongoing, but next week is SEC Media Days, and Arkansas has announced the players they're bringing. KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders. I don't think that's a surprise, but Landon Jackson. We know he's had a really good spring and everything. Just what'd you make of the decisions of the players that they're bringing to SEC Media Days, and maybe some things you'd like to hear from those players at SEC Media Days?
Well, with Landon Jackson, it tells me that he's fully healthy, ready to go, and they feel like he's going to have a big year. You don't just get this because you are well-spoken and all that. You've got to be somebody that you think is going to have a really good year. This is a kid who's been huge since the 8th grade. He went to LSU first, ended up back up here. He's got little brothers. He's not that little. Has been recruited by Arkansas right now. He'll be a senior this upcoming year. But I would say that they feel really good about him. And the defensive line, we'll see, once they get into the season. But the defensive line has the potential to be much better, both because of scheme that the 2 new guys have brought and because of the players that they got it through the transfer portal. And you should have some guys that should finally realize their potential here. Landon Jackson being one of those. He's a guy that's, as I said, has been known in these circles for a long time, and I think that he's ready to have his year this year.
Dudley, what are you looking forward to getting into at SEC Media Days and hearing about?
I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of reel or is it TikTok that John Nabors and his buddies come up with. That's always a highlight.
I bet.
Yeah. But, it's like anything else. Now, I will tell you, I'm going to be more excited next year when all 16 teams will be there. Commissioner Sankey got an extension, I guess today it was announced. But I do think that there are a lot. This is the SEC this year, where a lot of teams have, whether it's quarterbacks, whether it's various other positions. This league is a lot younger than maybe it has been in the last few years. So I think we're going to have a few breakout stars, not only here at Arkansas, but at the other places. And it's good to get to know them next week during this time, because a lot of times they're just a number on a sheet until you hear their personality.
Well, Dudley, just to shift gears a little bit with you, I know you've been following also the Razorback draftees of the NBA and Summer League, as well as some of the other players that have represented Arkansas. I'm sure you have your eye a little bit more on Jordan Walsh because he happens to play for your Celtics. But just what have you made so far of the performances by not only the players that were on our Razorback basketball team last year, but also some other Hogs in the Summer League?
Well, I will tell you one thing. It's very well known that Otis Kirk is a Lakers fan, and I'm a Celtics fan, so that was fun last night. He put a lot more importance on it than I did, but once we won, I was very excited. And I'm really excited about the way Jordan's playing. Was obviously the last of the draft picks, went to a great organization, and I think that we see in summer ball his all-around game, the hustle points he's going to get. He knows he's not going to be Jason Tatum, not going to be Jaylen Brown, not even going to be Kristaps Porzingis. But he can bring something to that team. I think he's made him a lot of money, additional money than what he signed with by playing this way. I don't think he's going to spend too much time on those two-way deals where you go back and forth. So excited to watch him. Anthony Black is as good as everybody thought he was. And Nick Smith, the 33 points the other night, showed his potential. Clearly he's healthy now. And him and Brandon Miller, who are the best of friends, I think are going to give Charlotte a big boost this year, although they've still got a ways to go.
Dudley, have you ever been to Summer League? Because
yes.
with some of the Arkansas flair there, it's surprising that you're not in Vegas right now.
Well, we have Kevin McPherson to do that, and he's handled it and done a really good job with it. I like to go to Vegas and watch and not work. But if ever afforded that opportunity and somebody else pays for it, I'll do it.
Yeah, I was about to say they ain't sending Dudley there. He's not allowed back in Vegas after that one time. That's how it goes.
Well, hey, what happens there, baby? What happens there?
That's right. That's right. Got to stay vague with it though. But hey, Dudley, that's kind of the cool thing too. It just Arkansas has a historic program in basketball, and they've produced a lot of great players. I know you, of course, grew up in the basketball program and friends with some of those iconic players too. But it seems like to me it's just a great thing for Razorback fans that may not have cared about the NBA as much or may not have been interested in the NBA. A lot of it, I think, has to do with just the lack of Razorbacks in the NBA. And now you're starting to see guys that are not getting drafted high, but I just feel like it's great, obviously, for the university and for Muss for recruiting purposes, but also just I think it's going to really gateway a lot more people to be interested in maybe some of these NBA teams because a Razorback's on their team or a Razorback is starting or maybe even a Razorback is an all-star for these teams.
Yeah, and Oklahoma City Thunder there are doing a good job of becoming Arkansas, flavor and having a lot of fans with the guys they've got over there. Jalen Williams has been playing really well in the summer league as well. I would tell you that growing up in the beautiful town of Newport, which I'm very proud to be from, as I talk about all the time. Charles Valentine and I used to watch a lot of guys like the triplets and Jimmy Counts and others have success and watch them go on to play professionally or do different things. Coach Counts is a great surgeon. And I think, as you said, there's been bits and pieces of guys, Joe Klein, some others, Corliss Williamson, obviously some others that have big parts. But it looks like these four guys, really about six they've got out there playing right now, are going to have the opportunity to really make a difference in the league. And I think that's going to elevate the number of people who are NBA fans here in the state of Arkansas.
How do you feel about some of the Celtics off-season moves? Marcus Smart, a guy that was there for quite a while, and he was the subject of trade rumors all the time, and finally they make that move and get Marcus Smart to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Well, I would say that the Memphis Grizzlies suddenly have an adult in the room with Marcus Smart. I hated to see him go, but at the same time, what we were doing wasn't working, at the end of the season and the postseason. So they had to mix it up when you can get somebody like Kristaps Porzingis that, finally I think came into his own. As long as he stays healthy, I think we've got a really good shot to win it all next year. You had to give up somebody. Looked like it was going to be Brogdon for a little bit, but that trade didn't work out. I feel good about what they've done in the offseason. Would like to add a couple more guys. We'll see how it ends up. But I'm over the semifinals now. So.
Well, Dudley, I got to ask you this. I know we feel like probably asking about all your teams, but we do have a lot of listeners that always tweet us or message us about the Cardinals. And I did see that, of course, the struggles with the Cardinals have been apparent at times this year, but also that old President John over there is talking about, hey, I can tell you right now, we're going to trade some people. You just don't know if it's going to be household name guys or more likely he's not going to be here next year. But just what do you make of their situation right now, Dudley, and maybe some of the moves that they need to make?
I would be disappointed if they trade the first baseman and the third baseman for Jordan Walker. They can trade anybody else they want to. They've got to do something different. This is what it's like to be a Cubs fan, I guess, and it's been tough. It hurts a little less these days, as the losses pile up. But, I just tell everybody enjoy it. Cubs fans, others who don't like the Cardinals, enjoy it. And I'll go put on my shirt that has 11 World Championship batters on it.
And see, Dudley, that's why I love you on Trash Talk Thursday, because it's like you're going to find a way when talking about the Cardinals, even if you guys are struggling at times, you're going to make sure that the Cubs fans know all about the how many championships and what it must be like. Because I don't like either team necessarily. I really don't like the fans of either team. No offense taken to you because you're one of the exceptions, but it is just funny to see that it's still relevant today that you got 11 titles and they have at least one in the past 100 years.
What I would tell you is that we suck this year. I fully admit that, but at least we have sucked 117 in the last 118.
There you go. Best way to put it, Dudley. Best way to put it, man. Well, we appreciate you hopping on. Try to stay cool out there, man, and stay hydrated. But we look forward to catching up with you next time. All right.
I'm about to get all in that hydrated stuff, John.
Yeah, I bet so. Man. We appreciate it, Dudley.
You bet. Anytime, guys.
All right. It's Dudley Dawson of Hogville.net joining us on the Jones and Sun Diamond and Bridal Fine Jewelry Hotline. Going to take a commercial break, and we're going to come back with more Out of Bounds on Trash Talk Thursday, as well as more of your phone calls and text messages. So stay with us here on Out of Bounds. Out of bounds here on a Trash Talk Thursday. But one thing you can trash talk with your buddies is about how much money you're winning with Bet Saracen and the Bet Saracen app. Folks, if you haven't downloaded the app to your phone, if you have not visited betsaracen.com, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what your problem is. You got issues. So stop what you're doing, unless you're driving, and download the app right now. It's so easy. It's so convenient, and they got so many specials. But then you're probably like, but there's no sports on right now. There's nothing I'm watching right now. Well, never fear, because they have specials already on NFL, on college football, on sports going on right now with Major League Baseball, as well as MMA, as tennis, golf. They got it all. So the only place you ever need to go when it comes to making money on all the sports you're watching is with Bet Saracen. In fact, right now, one of the college football specials that they have for you Razorback football fans out there, they have an over-under set for Arkansas on their conference wins in the regular season. So they play 8 games, right, in the SEC play. Over-under set at 3.5. 3.5. So if Arkansas got to 4 wins, be 4-4 or anything above that, it's at plus 110. So if you think it's going to be a big year, there you go. Maybe Arkansas State regular season conference wins. They're set an over-under at 2.5. They still have specials on who will make the college football playoff and odds on those things. And, of course, you got all these teams to choose from. But maybe you think Arkansas is really going to do it. Maybe you think they're going to just blow everybody away and say, hey, this is the year Arkansas makes the college football playoff. Plus 6,000 right now. So a lot of Razorback football flavor, and it's only with Bet Saracen. So, again, check it out today. Download the Bet Saracen app on your iPhone or on your Android, or you can visit their website at betsaracen.com, and you can bet that way. I promise you won't be disappointed. Win some money and have some fun with Bet Saracen. Again, it's a Trash Talk Thursday. Appreciate Dudley Dawson joining us in the previous segment. Talk a little Razorback, pretty much everything, and also some non-Razorback stuffs, but that's what it's all about. That's what it's the most fun for. So let's go to the phone lines, though, as Jim is in Conway. He's been patiently holding. What's up, Jim? Yeah, you there, Jim? You kind of broke up on us. There you go. Now we can hear you.
All right. Yeah. Hey, Dudley, you guys asked Dudley a question about the young man from Benton and where he was going to transfer to before he landed at Benton. And he was going to transfer to Little Rock Christian. And so it didn't work out, so he went to Benton.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were. It was what we were curious about. So that's what it came down to.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to Little Rock Christian, but he couldn't transfer there, so he went to Benton.
Okay. Well, thanks for letting us know, Jim.
Right.
Now we got it. Appreciate that. Yeah, because we know that we talk about transfer portal and all the college sports and everything. Even in high school, there are kids that transfer to different schools within the state, sometimes within the same area for various reasons too. So it happens.
It's happening a lot more these days, and especially with going to different classifications with high schools. The schools, they move up and down, and then you have some player movement also. And we saw a record number of coaches movement in the offseason this time around.
Yeah, still blows my mind that Buck James, going from Bryant to Conway, just wild stuff. But was it Nick Smith that he went to a different school almost every year in high school?
He was at
spots?
Sylvan Hills, and then he ultimately got to North Little Rock.
Okay, I remember he was one of those guys that transferred around. But it's not always like a bad thing or negative thing. Sometimes there's reasons to be transferring or to do different things. It's just the way it is.
In the case with Nick Smith, his family actually moved from one district to the other, and so that's what used to be the case anytime for a transfer, is if a student moved from one to the other, and now, of course, they're in a different school district. But with so much movement, sometimes it's hard to keep track of it. But that was the case where his family just simply moved.
Makes sense to me. Let's go back to the phone lines. Stan's in Little Rock. What's up, Stan?
Yes, sir. How you doing, John, my friend?
Doing good, Stan.
All right, freaking dope.
What's up, Stan?
Hey, y'all, check this out. I got a fun feeling that the Steel Curtain defense show up again.
Stan, you're breaking up on us, man.
And the reason Stan is breaking up is because he's talking about the Steel Curtain defense in college football.
Guess we lost Stan.
Yeah.
Call back some other time, Stan.
Phone
Sorry.
didn't like what he was talking about there.
Man, yeah, I'm sure what he was saying is that this Georgia defense is not going to be the steel curtain.
No, he said he expects them to be the steel curtain defense again.
Oh, jeez.
Even with more personnel and more turnover. But of course, they do recruit the best athletes there, and it is kind of a plug and play type deal. But once again, to compare him to the steel curtain defense, come on.
Yeah, my viewpoint on anything that you give a nickname to a unit of players or a unit on the field, that's something that is not just an easily replicated thing, and there's a reason why they give those names. Because what was it? The purple monster eaters of
Purple people eaters.
People eaters, yeah. It's like they have a nickname. You can't compare something to that.
Monsters of the Midway.
Monsters of the
Chicago.
Midway. That's right. Like there's reasons why, and it's usually because of not only how great they are, but the amount of years they stick together and like how historic they are when it comes to their numbers. And you just can't just throw comparisons around willy-nilly. If you earn your own unique nickname, then maybe, but you just can't do that.
Now, the way the Eagles are drafting Georgia players, if they do earn some kind of nickname on the NFL level, of course, maybe you could equate that to the college level because that seems to be all the players that they keep targeting for the Eagles defense. They're going to Georgia players.
Yeah, maybe call them the Philadelphia Bulldogs or something like that. Or I don't know. That probably would upset those fans up there. You could probably find a pretty good nickname to go along with it, but it seems to be a good recipe. Yeah, just draft players from Georgia, especially on that side of the ball, and everything will work out for you. So, but yeah, because what's the last unit in the NFL, especially that's had like a nickname? Because it's like I think about what was it, the Greatest Show on Turf when they talked about the Rams and the offense. I feel like there haven't been, and maybe I'm just missing it. There haven't been really any great like nicknames of units.
That was more of a 70s deal, but they do still every now and then, if they have some great ones that stand out, they'll give them a nickname.
Yeah. Needs to bring it back. You have to be warranted. You have to earn the nickname. I'm just saying just give anybody a nickname, but surely there should be some teams out there that the success, like I'm surprised the Chiefs success that they've had, especially with Mahomes and that offense. I'm surprised no one's tried to think of some sort of nickname for them to talk about their offense. Maybe Rebecca can come up with something. She seems to be all about
Andy
that.
Reid is the mastermind for that. So he's had success not only there, but with the Eagles before.
Yeah. Yeah, I still can't believe
and the Packers before that as an assistant coach.
Was he the offensive coordinator of the Packers during that time?
Or, at one time he was, yeah.
I always got, and when that during that time, I always got him and was
Mike
it Holmgren because they kind of had the mustache and kind of bigger guys. Always got them mixed up. But yeah, it's a shame we didn't get to hear that from Stan, but we kind of had an idea of where he was going with it too. Also, from the 501. Sorry, we missed it. Says, if you can ask Dudley why hasn't Arkansas been on Jalen Dupree of Malvern, who committed to Colorado State. Looking at your text line, every recruiting expert's been on the station here on 103.7 Buzz, whether it's Trey Biddy or Danny West had a mask. I actually listened to when I believe is the morning show. Or no, it was actually drive time when Randy asked Danny or Trey about Jalen Dupree. And it's kind of one of those things that, at least if I remember correctly, Trey was saying, you're not going to recruit everybody out of the states. Sometimes it's about fit. Sometimes it's about needs and depth and all of that. But that's at least the understanding I have. I don't think it's anything against the kid or whatnot. It's probably just they may have some other people in mind, like a Braylon Russell, something that's at the same position too.
If you have players that are highly recruited and they're being recruited by pretty much every school in the country, of course, you are going to target those players, even if you don't have a big time need for it, because first and foremost, you do want to get the best players. But from a player standpoint, it's so wide open where you see all these different schools. You want to make visits to different schools. There's no more loyalty from a sense of grew up in this state, always wanted to be a Razorback. This is the team I love. You see teams all over the country, and that's why recruiting is so wide open, and these players pay attention to a lot of different schools.
That's why Dudley, I think, talked about the world's getting smaller because it's like people see more things and get more access to these schools that where they never even knew anything about them. It's like you can get all the information you need and view all the things you need from all over the world, and especially in this country when it comes to that recruiting. Also, a text line. Thanks for this. A few people chiming in from the 501 says the Legion of Boom. It's probably been one of the more later
That was
ones.
the most recent. Yeah, that
Mhm.
was definitely.
See all the Seahawks because that's obviously with Richard Sherman. Who else was the
Cam
part of that?
Chancellor.
Chancellor, that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, Cam Chancellor was really good.
Earl Thomas.
Yep, Earl Thomas. 'Cause they only won one Super Bowl, right? Played in
They played in
2?
2.
Yeah, it's one of them they probably should have won, as people constantly will bring up.
Or they played in 3. Did they play in 2 or 3? Trying to think. Russell Wilson.
He's won one, and I think he's playing 2. I keep thinking of the time
they
where
played in 2.
Matt Hasselbeck played in one, right? Against the
Yes.
Steelers, correct? Yeah. So I remember that one. And I don't know. I can't help it every time I think of Matt Hasselbeck. If we want the ball, we're going to score. Well, so that's how that
Yeah, it
worked
didn't
out.
happen that year, but they ultimately got to the Super Bowl. So they at least were able to check that goal off the list of getting there. And then, of course, when you get there, you want to win.
Mm-hmm. Hey, listen, they've done it more than my team has as far as just even playing in the Super Bowl. Maybe this is the year. I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, but still probably not. But we'll see. It's tough to get there. It's tough to win one. It's tough to get there. And it's tough to even win games in the NFL for sure. So we have flown by in this show, but we got one final segment as we'll take our final commercial break and get back to 3 and Out, get some headlines, some storylines, things we didn't get into, close up shop, ready for Drive Time Sports. It's all coming up next here on Out of Bounds. All right, it is time for 3 and Out. A few headlines, a few storylines, a few things that we got to dive into. First off, shout out to actually the New York Jets, since we were talking about it a little bit before, as the Jets and Quinnen Williams agreed to a 4-year, $96 million deal that includes $66 million guaranteed. And to put that into perspective, not only is he getting $96 million for 4 years, but Jeffrey Simmons got 4 years for $94 million. Darren Payne 4 years for $90 million. A lot of great defensive linemen getting a lot of big time moves, and now he's the highest paid defensive tackle that's not named Aaron Donald. So getting that deal done. Hopefully he stays healthy, and hopefully he's a pivotal part of the Jets defense this upcoming year.
Dwayne Wade is being inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame next month. He's going to go in with others such as Dirk Nowitzki, Tony Parker, Pau Gasol, and he's chosen his presenter. It's Allen Iverson. And usually the presenter just stands there with the inductee. They don't necessarily speak. There was one year where Michael Jordan presented Kobe Bryant and Kim Mulkey in the same year. But D. Wade goes on to say that Allen Iverson was an inspiration to him, and he chose the number 3 jersey because of Allen Iverson and looking up to him as he was growing up and becoming a basketball player.
So we have a little funny story here with Kentucky basketball, because they're playing Team USA, and they've been, going through their whole, thing when it comes to these off-season basketball under 23 deals. But according to the radio play-by-play man, Tom Leach, who is iconic there with Kentucky basketball, he said on the radio broadcast itself that their shoe bag was stolen off the team bus overnight back in Toronto. Says Leach said it was fortunate that they had a backup shoe bag that was in somebody's hotel room, and that's why the Cats are not having to play barefoot today. So somebody stole all the shoes, and I'm like, that's weird, but also I'm sure it's worth a lot of money, and I'm sure that's why someone stole it. But also on top of that too, the fact that people, I'm sure not just Kentucky, but have backup shoe bags is pretty smart, but kind of crazy that you even have to have a backup shoe bag. But it would have been quite the story last night if they didn't have those backup shoes, but it all worked out. But man, who steals shoes? Well, probably people that want a lot of money, because some of those shoes are very expensive.
Emmy nominations are out, and there's a list of snubs. 1923 and Yellowstone. Neither one of them got nominated for anything, along with Kevin Costner. And it said that Harrison Ford, Where's the Love for Him? Selena Gomez and Steve Martin for Miss for Only Murders. So that's a show that they do together. Harry and Meghan Markle, they didn't get nominated for anything. And then Elizabeth Olsen.
She did not get nominated.
No, those are all the snubs. Those are the ones that were named as some of the biggest snubs from Emmys.
Well, speaking of sports, we'll make it sports related, but Germany has a female soccer player that is very well known and very famous and very attractive. And in fact, she had originally agreed. Her name's Gwyn, and she apparently had a request from Playboy magazine to appear in a naked cover shoot ahead of the Women's World Cup. Now, when this was part of it, they thought that it would be something that she needed to turn down because it may, be a bad branding move for Germany, or maybe it just be a bad move for anybody knowing about it. It's not something you want to have happen. No, because according to the soccer team from Germany, they said concerns have been raised over a potential Playboy curse after 5 members of Germany's under-20 national team posed in the cover shoot ahead of the 2011 World Cup, to which they struggled and could not follow through with any of their shots and ended up losing those games. So the reason is not has anything to do with the brand or not anything to do with the bad look it may be put on people, but instead it's actually just the fact that there was that one time we had people pose for Playboy and our team sucked. So we're just not going to have the Playboy curse be a thing this year to them.
An update on the kid that was hit in the head at the home run derby. It said that he was later seen with a bandage on his head, but fortunately he was able to walk under his own power, and he's expected to make a full recovery.
That's good to hear, because, he took a shot right to the noggin. So good to hear that he's going to be all right. So we know Seattle and had the MLB All-Star game, and one of the things that you always got to relate to baseball is a hot dog, right? Well, they had a Seattle dog, and, talk about Chicago dogs or New York dogs. Well, they have a Seattle dog, And one of the things that people were pointing out is the fact that it is a hot dog in a bun, and that's where it starts. But the two main toppings, cream cheese and grilled onions. Now, I love a good hot dog. I love different types of toppings on hot dogs. But the two things that and even people like onions, I don't like onions on my hot dog, but that's fine. But cream cheese and onions, and that's it? Don't know if that's something I'd be trying.
It's a Seattle thing.
It's a Seattle thing. And that's why it's called the Seattle dog. I'll just stick to the regular dog over here. But if you go to Seattle and ask for a Seattle dog, just know it's going to be onions and cream cheese on it.
So the Netflix series Quarterback, it caught Patrick Mahomes on there talking about a possible matchup in the AFC Championship game versus the Bills and the Bengals. And he actually said that he thought the Bengals were better and he really wanted to play against the Bengals because as a competitor, he was tired of them talking. And they had beaten the Chiefs a few times. And so this was for the prize of going to the Super Bowl. So he wanted to play against the Bengals because they had been talking. And that was the team he wanted to get over the hurdle to get to the Super Bowl with a chance to bring back a championship. And it happened.
Well, a pretty crazy story from Florida, as they normally go, but a Japanese steakhouse in Florida has announced that they're closing just weeks after an investigation from the sheriff's county office found that some of their soy sauce was contaminated with methamphetamine. Apparently, an investigation into the steakhouse was when people were being hospitalized after making the trips to the restaurant. Detectives did test 2 soy sauce bottles and unopened to-go packets of soy sauce, which came back as positive for meth. And the owners of the restaurant made a Facebook post that said that they would be closing, unable to sustain the cost to stay open, is what they said. But we all know what the real reason was. But also, according to the investigative report, multiple employees told deputies a coworker was acting erratically on June 9th. And the day that 7 customers got sick, the coworkers believed that the suspicious coworker unknowingly contaminated the food. However, the report concluded that there was no evidence to back that up. I don't know what's more impressive is the fact that something like that actually happens, but not just in the bottles, but in the packets of soy sauce. Somehow the meth got in there. But
the packets, wow.
That's what they were saying.
That's impressive.
Yeah, they said they tested 2 soy sauce bottles and unopened to-go packets of soy sauce, and that it was inside of that. I don't know how that happened, but scary thing. Hopefully everyone ends up being okay. But yeah, keep the methamphetamines out of the soy sauce, please.
There's a Florida man that was arrested because of having a road rage fit where he was actually ramming cars, striking them with a tire iron. And then when deputies arrived on the scene, he threw a barbecue grill at them. So all those things included, it landed him in jail.
How do you throw a barbecue grill? I mean, that's got, I guess it maybe was a smaller one, but that's impressive. I guess you could just throw whatever you get your hands on, and that includes the barbecue grill there. Kind of some sad news. Not kind of, it is sad news. But yesterday also an announcement came from Dick Vitale, love him or hate him, whatever it is. But he announced yesterday that he has been diagnosed with vocal cord cancer. And he also vows to, quote, fight like hell so he can be ready to call games this season. And this is the 3rd bout with different cancers for Dickie V. So he's been through a lot, and he's up there in age too, and he keeps fighting. So hopefully he ends up being okay, and hopefully he can call some games this year because college basketball just wouldn't be the same without him being on the basketball broadcast there. So best of luck there for Dickie V. Appreciate everybody listening in to Out of Bounds today. For Joe Franklin, I'm John Nabors. Same sports show, same sports channel tomorrow afternoon. Stay tuned, folks. We got Drive Time Sports coming up next.